5 guns for the end of the world. Folks, this is Fernando doing another video for the Modern Survivalist and revisiting this topic yet again. I've done some variations of this same video, but I just saw the one from Paul Harrell. His channel is quite good and he goes into this minute detail regarding his decisions, and I thought, you know what, it's a nice topic to discuss one more time. And there's not a whole lot of variation. Actually, it's gonna be a lot of the things that I've talked about so many times before, but as time goes by, as we gain more experience, more knowledge, as we keep seeing, watching events unfold around the world and right in front of us and in our environment, we talk about these things yet again. So it's gonna be my top 5 list of guns to have for the end of the world. The end of the world, what does that exactly mean? Is it gonna be zombies? Is it gonna be a social decay, civil war, one against the other? Is it gonna be Russians, Chinese, Canadians invading? Who knows? It's gonna be a social economic collapse, such as the one we saw in Argentina, which, by the way, you wanna get my book, Surviving the Economic Collapse, based on just that experience. Is it gonna be like something what happened in Argentina when the cops went on strike nationwide and neighbors had to organize and defend their own communities? Would it be like some of the storms you've seen across the United States where there's gonna be looters and people like that? Is it gonna be something like what you saw in the United States during Katrina, where in spite of the Second Amendment, the law enforcement of that place goes around disarming neighbors? Will it be yet again like Katrina, where people that were evacuated were not allowed to take their own guns? Or would it be like, again, in the US, when my friend went to help people during Katrina, Marine, armed, ready to go help fellow Americans, and he was stopped by cops and disarmed before he reached New Orleans? So which one is gonna be? All of that and more. We're gonna be looking at what top 5 guns to have in case of all of that and more probable things, such as self-defense, when out and about, when in your house, home defense. What top 5 guns for the end of the world? Number 1, surprise no one at all, it's gonna be a Glock 9mm pistol. Now, I think that Paul Harrell did a video and he said his choice was a Beretta 9mm because of his military background, because his experience with that said firearm. That's perfectly fine. For me, it's gonna be a Glock. Around the world, different countries, different law enforcement and military forces and civilians, you know, anytime you see a civilian that knows a little bit about defensive shooting and such, there's a good chance he will have some kind of Glock 9mm with him or some other Glock pistol. For me, 9mm Glock will be the standard. You have other calibers. I like the 357 SIG quite a bit, but if I'm gonna go for my number 1 handgun to have, it's gonna be Glock 17. This is gonna be covering, realistically, pretty much most of your needs. And I do this list keeping a few things in mind. The more far-fetched zombie scenario, well, there's not a whole lot of zombies. There's not a whole lot of Russians invading your country, even though it could well happen. Canadians and Mexicans are not invading right now. But what if they do? What if that ends up happening? Okay, well, unless you go into that kind of scenario for more traditional home defense, for self-defense when out and about, meaning a concealed carry gun, will your Glock 17 or your Glock 19 work as a carry gun? Yes, of course. What I'm getting at is pretty much anything that you need a gun for in terms of realistic probable use, and even some that are very unlikely. Your handgun in a popular caliber like 9mm in a reliable platform, more than proven than Glock, covers all of that. There's been even people that defended themselves against bears with 9mm. There was a guy that was attacked by a bear. He shot the bear like 5-6 times. I think it was a Beretta 9mm, killed the bear. Yes, you can very much. You don't need a 44 Magnum. You can pretty much kill anything that breathes and walks and crawls the earth with a 9mm, especially if you put several rounds into it. And since bears still don't carry guns, that's gonna be in your advantage. Number 2, again, surprises no one, AR. M4, in this case, 14.5-inch barrel. And it could be some other semi-automatic. I mean, for a long time for me, my choice was that guy over there, an FAL. Why? Well, because depending on where you live, some guns may be more popular than others. Now, with how common AR platforms are all over the world, even though I'm not much of a fan of the design of the AR, and I believe that the FAL and a number of others are actually quite superior, the popularity of the AR you cannot argue against in terms of parts, in terms of magazines, in terms of the caliber, in terms of pretty much everything. The AR is probably the go-to long gun for your number 2 choice. Now, it may be that you live in a place where maybe an AK is more popular, more common, and that's what you move towards. That's fine. If FALs are all over the place, well, maybe that's what you go for. But you want to look at what is being used by the military in your country, what's being used in the military in the region in general, in case there's a conflict among neighbors. Again, Ukrainian-Russian case. You want to look at what's available in the market. What is it that I find in most gun stores in my country? What is it I find in terms of magazines, spare parts, ammo? That's going to be pulling you towards one direction or the other. Most places these days, AR. Even when you see some of the guys in Ukraine, the ones that have a little bit more advanced training, do a little bit of that tactical work, many of them are going with AR platform firearms themselves. So that's probably one of the best choices. This is your standard Colt M4 with a 14.5-inch barrel, and it has a nice little aim point. I'm going here for very lightweight. I want something that's super lightweight, because if I want a heavier gun, I have it. But this is a gun you will have in case of defending a freedom, a home, family, freedom, and country, right? For those cases in which things have gone to hell and your number 1 choice is probably not adequate enough. These 2 guns will probably cover most of your needs you will ever have, right? But if you get into this right now, and by getting into this, I mean knowing how to use these guns. Guys, you need the actual training. Oh, my uncle taught me how to shoot. I've been shooting my entire life. Okay, have you actually had proper firearms training, defensive shooting, tactical shooting? Have you been taught by an actual professional that does this for a living how to clear a room? Oh, I watch a bunch of YouTube videos. Yeah, that is not what I'm talking about. I mean, have you taken classes on clearing a room and moving around tactically, moving with other people? Have you been trained? Well, no. Okay, then you need to work on that. Now, a lot of that I do cover in Street Survival Skills, the basics on using your firearm, using your rifle, some of those basic aspects. Many of these things, I'm talking about how to draw your gun, how to aim your gun, how to move in a realistic manner with your firearm. All of these basic things that I explain here, I've been seeing many Ukrainians being taught how to do that right now when they're being attacked by Russians. It is so much better if you go ahead of the curve and get some of this training and practice these things. My book will help you. An actual good instructor, that's going to be even better. Get the instructor if you can. That's always the best way to go. And always doing classes with a qualified firearms instructor, not one of these losers that you see that have no clue whatsoever. Terrible. You need someone that knows how to teach these things and is a qualified instructor with a good reputation in the community. Second best option, get yourself Street Survival Skills. I explained there some of the basics that I've learned from different instructors in different countries, and the basics are taught for a good reason, because they work, okay? It's something that you want to do now before you actually need it. If someone breaks into your house, then just having the gun without the knowledge, I mean, you may get lucky, but you're relying a lot more on luck. If someone invades your country and you have no option but to fight for survival, yeah, it's going to be a lot of luck if you live or die, but it's going to be helped quite a bit if you have some of the knowledge, if you're in good shape, if you know what you're doing, if you have the right equipment. All of those things work in your favor. The sooner you get started in all of this, the more chances are of success that you will have. Now, in terms of home invasions, self-defense, yeah, if you have a long gun, that's even better, right? And here we're talking about defending your community, as we were saying before. Looters, if there's strikes, if there's heavy civil unrest, and people have to organize so as to defend your communities, you will want to have a long gun. I just posted a video, the previous video, the video before this one, I was showing how there's actual socialist organizations today arming themselves so as to attack you, so as to attack the people that are not with them. If you're not a socialist, you are their enemy. They are disguised as woke, LGBT, trans, minor attracted people, whatever bullshit you want to disguise it as. It is socialism. They actually say that in the name of their organization. Socialist Rifle Association, it is socialist. It is there in the name. Just like the satanic guy, well, you are satanic. Oh, we're call ourselves satanics, but we're not really satanics. Well, it's kind of difficult to argue against the point when that's in your fucking name. In the title of your description of your organization, of your group, that's what it says, all right? But these guys are already in your community, in your country, and what's coming is pretty much unavoidable at this point. That's why, seriously, you want to cover these things. I know you watch so many of these YouTube videos, I do that as well, but we've reached that breaking point where these things, you should start taking them seriously, for real. Handgun, rifle. You need to get yourself these two, and you need to start practicing and training with them right now. Having the ammunition, having the rest of this stuff. Is it more important than your health, than your well-being in other areas regarding preparedness and just a good quality of life? Yeah, probably no. But these things, you may end up having to depend on them to keep yourself and your family safe. Moving to number 3, and this is a little bit more where people have a little bit of a differences of opinion in terms of, I want to have a 22 rifle. I want to have a shotgun. For me, number 3, shotgun. Why is it better than a rifle? No, the rifle is pretty much better for everything. But the shotgun, there's a few things that your rifle can't. The shotgun has a lot more variety with the type of ammunition it can fire. It can be used for small game hunting, large game hunting. It can do very well for defensive training and for keeping a community safe. You can use even less than lethal rounds in a shotgun, which is not an option in a long gun. And all of these things may sound a little bit far-fetched, and some of the practices and some of the applications that a shotgun has are indeed a little bit far-fetched. But given that you can end up seeing civil unrest, the option having ammunition that probably many of your neighbors have, a lot of your community has, 12 gauge, it is super popular. And for some people it's going to be 22 or shotgun. Well, shotgun is just better for the more realistic use of a firearm, which is against other two-leg predators. The 22 is more of that scavenging thing where, I mean, yeah, you can use it for self-defense. A shotgun is just better. Now, my choice, Benelli M1. Could you go with a Mossberg 500? That is a great option. Short barrel for big game hunting, self-defense, and longer barrel for small game, choke tube. Yeah, that combo is great. The Benelli M1 being semi-automatic and being of a top quality manufacturer, Italian-made shotgun, it is one of the most dependable, one of the most reliable, better built shotguns ever made. That Benelli M1, there's been models that have shot over 100,000 rounds and keep on ticking. It is super reliable, and once you learn the gun, you know that the mechanism is quite simple on the inside. There's not a whole lot that can break in an M1, and even if it does end up wearing out after hundreds of thousands or just thousands and thousands of rounds fired, it is so popular that you're likely to find parts for an M1. So if you take all of that into account, how lightweight it is, how you have the advantage of it being semi-automatic, 7 rounds in that longer tube, 6 or 7. Anyway, you have a powerful man stopper in semi-automatic format. This would be a fantastic gun for keeping a community safe. If you're guarding your street, your block, if you're organizing with neighbors, this is something you could use yourself. This is something you can hand over to someone else. It's not just about the guns you may end up using yourself. What if I rely on a neighbor? Well, maybe to my neighbor, I give him a shotgun like that one. I explain how to use it. It's going to be quite simple. I am much more comfortable teaching someone how to use a semi-automatic than a pump action. The pump action, even though you see it in the movies and all of this stuff, and it is used by police, it has been used for so many years, The semi-automatic advantage is you're not relying on a manual action for each round fired. Your neighbor will fuck it up if you teach him how to use this and he ever actually has to fight off a group of attackers. This, less likely. Semi-automatic, keep on pulling the trigger, the right ammo, shouldering the shotgun correctly, this will work for him. And yeah, if I ever have to rely on that because this broke or something else happened, well, that's what I'd rather have. And here is where probably you want to look at doubling on some things. Maybe having a couple of handguns, maybe having a second rifle instead of going for a shotgun. I'm more than okay with that. And keeping in mind the different legalities of different countries, maybe you cannot have a semi-automatic rifle. Well, maybe you have a lever action. 357 Magnum revolver, 357 Magnum lever action, that's a great combo if you're limited by law in your country regarding guns you can have. Even in the more fucked up restricted countries in the planet, such as UK, you can have a semi-automatic shotgun. You cannot have a handgun if you're living in, damn London, but you can have a semi-automatic shotgun. That would be the way to go if that's the restrictions that you're dealing with, okay? So either one is great. I think the M1 being semi-automatic, being Benelli, is even better. What about the Benelli M4? Well, it is great. I don't have one, and it's nice. This is just, I feel, more simple. Mechanically, it is inertia driven instead of the more gas operated thing. The M4 is fantastic, maybe one of the best shotguns you can have. But the M1 has that advantage of being so simple, lightweight, proven. I just like that about that. But that's my choice. Number 4, now, yes, with a 22. Why a 22? Because it is lightweight, it is cheap, it is accurate, it is super versatile, especially if you need a working gun, like you use in a farm for pest controls, that sort of thing. Probably, depending on your needs, it could bump in place and go into your third option. Let's say I have a farm, a homestead, a land, a piece of land, and I want to have something for pest control and that sort of thing. Maybe this is more of a priority than having a shotgun. Maybe you use that more, or you use that for pest control, which would work as well. But the 22 is so versatile, it just has to be in that top 5. So as a number 4 option, that's a Marlin Papoose stainless steel. This is one of your typical survival guns, like your AR-7. These survival guns, are they like the number 1 top choice? Well, no, because they're often designed for pilots or people that are working as guides in places like Alaska or Canada, and they want something for foraging, maybe a pilot for a little bit limited self-defense. This is a little bit more of that bureaucratic military tradition. These days, pilots will have an AR or even a breakdown AR, some of these compact ones that disassemble and you have it in a couple pieces, or just a 9mm pistol as well. But even though these are your typical survival guns, doesn't mean that it has that best application for all possible survival scenarios. I think that these two are far more likely to end up saving your neck if you end up needing it. Finally, number 5. Here is where you have some choices. I think that for my number 5, I want another handgun. In my case, my number 5 would be that baby right there. 357 Magnum revolver, manual run, super reliable, super accurate. Is it more durable and more tough than your Glock? Of course not. Even though it's the best revolver made, it is not as dependable and reliable as a Glock pistol, simply because of the internal mechanism. But having said that, again, if I have to depend on someone else covering my neck, if I have to use it myself, a 357 Magnum revolver is always a great choice. And combined with a lever action, if that's what you're going for, you cannot beat that combo right there when semi-automatic is not in the table for you. So, and yeah, you have a more powerful caliber. You have the option of using 38s. So maybe that's what you're going for. It could also be that your number 5 is a compact Glock pistol as a backup. I think that Paul Harrell talked about having a compact gun in his list, just in case you have to go super covert. I kind of see it that even any handgun will cover that aspect. If you're going into something that is so restricted that they're actually going to be checking on you, any gun will be detected. If it's not, then pretty much any handgun can be kept concealed. So guys, that's my top 5 list. The number 5 is a little bit more of a backup handgun or other handgun alternative, but you kind of get the picture where this is going. That's gonna be all for now, folks. I hope you enjoyed it and got something out of it, and more food for thought right there. As always, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already, and if you want to check my books, they're available in Amazon following those links there below. See you next time.